Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the fourth part of my Vampire Month series on this channel, a series that I am doing in order to celebrate Spooky Month. Last week's video was about the film Sharkula, a god-awful film about a vampire-shark hybrid. Today's video is about the film Suck, a 2009 film about a struggling band whose bassist gets turned into a vampire. As you can imagine, chaos ensues. Without further ado, on with the review. Much like Sharknado, I actually learned about this movie from Twitter. The Nightmare on Film Street podcast mentioned it, and I knew that I immediately had to check it out. At first, I wasn't too sure about it, but after some time, it seemed to grow on me. I'll get into that more later on in the review. As I said in the intro, the film centers around a struggling band called The Winners, which include the lead singer and lead guitarist Joey, the bassist Jennifer, the rhythm guitarist Tyler, drummer Dan, and roadie Hugo. The movie opens with a radio host called Rockin' Roger, played by Henry Rollins, who makes appearances throughout the film, and he has some pretty questionable things to say to the audience.
It's never too late to say you're sorry, and right now I want to dedicate this next song to all the lovely ladies in Rockin' Roger's rock and roll past. And ladies, if you're burning and itching, you might want to see a doctor immediately.
That's show business, I guess? A stop-motion bat flies towards a model town, and we are then transported to a live-action nightclub with the Winners playing live. The song they're playing, titled I'm Coming to Get You, actually sounds pretty decent in my opinion, and is also pretty fitting considering that this movie's overarching villain, a vampire named Queenie, who is played by Burning Bride's Dimitri Coates, is making his way towards the band. Queenie and Jennifer keep making goo-goo eyes at each other while she's on stage, and not gonna lie, this guy is really starting to creep me out. Joey is talking to his manager Jeff, who is played by Canadian comedian Dave Foley. Jeff drunkenly tells Joey that he should be firing him as a roundabout way of quitting, and Joey isn't very pleased to hear this, as he has been trying to make the Winners grow through a tour of North America.
Was I drinking when I said that?
You're always drinking.
You should totally fire me.
We are then introduced to my favourite character Hugo, who will serve as this film's Renfield.
Yeah, no matter how long you go away, you always come back. You're like herpes. Hugo's not like herpes. Hugo's a lot like herpes. No, he's not.
He and the others also notice that Jennifer is talking to Queenie, who they refer to as some scary guy. Pretty spot on, I'd say. An unsettling bartender, who just so happens to be played by the Alice Cooper, gives Joey, but not Jeff, a beer on the house. Jeff bails on Joey after he gets a call about Japanese hip-hop, something which he claims is going to be huge, but is suggested to be a complete lie and just an excuse to leave. Joey passes the bartender, who claims to be able to read Joey's mind.
You're afraid of being a loser the rest of your life. Too late for you, too late for the band. I would say you're 30 pounds of junk food and a retail job away from killing yourself. Just a guess.
Harsh. Real harsh. Jennifer is actually both a struggling addict and Joey's ex-girlfriend, and after she hears of Joey's plan to sleep in their vehicle, a hearse, for the night, she decides to spend the night with Queenie instead, despite the fact that they just met. She tries to suggest that Joey is just jealous when he protests about this, but he has a point. You literally met this guy 2 seconds ago. I will admit his jacket is cool though. We are then treated to this really weird sequence which freaked me the fuck out the first time I watched this, as I wasn't expecting this to be a musical. The song sounds decent again and I'm not really sure what's going on, but by the end of it, Jennifer turns into a vampire. The next morning, the rest of the band get ready to leave without Jennifer. We get a nice Abbey Road reference and the Winners make their way to Toronto through a map and stop-motion driving sequence. Joey's current girlfriend, Susan, is shooting some sci-fi video. He showed up to ask her for money on the way to their next show, and tells her that Jennifer, who she refers to as Junkie Slut, will not be attending the show. While rehearsing, Jennifer actually shows up and is very defensive about her new appearance, also claiming to have hitched a ride with another band called the Itchies, who just so happened to not be able to make it at the same time. Yeah, not suspicious at all, Jennifer. I'm sure that the Itchies are perfectly fine. A vampire slayer, Eddie Van Helsing, stakes a vampire in his coffin while demanding to know where Queenie is. He doesn't get the answer he wanted, but finds a poster for the winners in the vampire's shirt pocket. Eddie also just so happens to be played by Malcolm McDowell. I know, this movie's casting is crazy. Susan has to fight to get into the club as Joey hasn't put her on the list, but the clubgoers seem intrigued by Jennifer's newfound vampiric beauty. Eddie shows up, notices that Jennifer is a vampire, but drops his torch. The show is interrupted when Susan comes in and sees Jennifer on stage, throwing a bottle at Joey in a blind rage. Joey wakes up at a literal crossroad, being greeted by Alice Cooper once again, although he looks a lot more emo and cool. Eddie sits in his car, and has flashbacks to his younger days, when he had a girlfriend called Danielle. Unfortunately, this is ruined when he finds Danielle's body drained of her blood one evening. I was really curious as to how they managed to make young Eddie look so convincing, and it turns out that the filmmakers used footage of McDowell from the 1973 film Oh Lucky Man to add to the flashbacks. While journeying to the US border, the winners notice all their new comments are about Jennifer, who really isn't doing too well on the road. Despite vomiting into her bag while going through border security, the border guard, played by Rush's Alex Lifeson, lets them through after hearing that they're in a band.
Takes me back. Rock on, dudes. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hugo and Jennifer stop at a gas station in Buffalo, where Jennifer literally drinks the boy at the till, and Hugo faints after she asks him to dismember the body. Once he wakes, she promises him immortal life if he helps her get rid of the evidence of her victims.
We need to go.
It's quite a nosebleed. You okay there, bud?
Everything's normal.
After a show, the lead of another band, the Secretaries of Steak, is suddenly racist towards Hugo when he tries to stop him from getting papers from Jennifer in the other room to roll more blunts, so Hugo just lets him go anyway. Thinking that Jennifer wants to sleep with him, it's kind of implied that she penectomizes him as it cuts to Tyler eating a baguette. I actually didn't notice this upon my first few viewings of the film, and it made me laugh really hard. While the others argue about fancying Jennifer, Hugo dismembers the body and then starts eating bugs. The rest of the band walk in on Jennifer finishing her meal and are kind of forced to accept it due to their newfound success, despite Joey initially trying to kick her out. Joey makes Jennifer swear not to turn any other member of the band into a vampire, and to resort to a diet of cow's blood. On top of this, Eddie is following the winners. Next, we get my favourite song and segment from this film, Jennifer's song, So Close It Hurts.
I almost killed you last night, she said. I almost killed you last night, dead.
This is probably the part that stuck with me the most from the first time I watched this film, and I have listened to the full version of the song in my spare time since, unironically. Seriously guys, check it out. The winners stop at their producer friend Victor's place to record a new song. Victor is played by Iggy Pop himself and is extremely paranoid, aiming a rifle at the band members and being immediately suspicious of Jennifer. Victor tries to warn Joey about this kind of lifestyle, a warning which Joey doesn't seem to take seriously. Tyler convinces Jennifer to turn him into a vampire, and at the next venue, Jennifer is greeted by this total lunatic in a really obvious wig, which made me laugh so hard the first time I watched this.
They have magic pills. Take them.
It's okay. It's really not my thing.
Dan is now very pale and jittery, and Jeff has now shown up at the venue. It turns out that Jeff is now willing to work with the winners again, but is banging Susan, a relationship he ends immediately when Joey says it bothers him. Jeff also has scored them an interview with Rockin' Roger, and Joey accidentally takes those pills that were given to Jennifer by that loony. As soon as the rest of the band members leave for the interview, Joey and Hugo are threatened by Eddie, who says he's onto them. The interview with Roger is really funny though, and a lot of the lines had me in stitches.
Son, are you wearing pancake, or are you actually that pale? He looks like a statue.
They get really offended by Roger's insult comedy, so eat him live on air, which actually makes the band even more famous. Another song which I like from this movie and listen to plays now, You Raised a Vampire by the Moogs. Joey is visited by the bartender again, and his dialogue is really appealing to the 12-year-old goth that still remains in my heart.
Yeah, I'm scared, alright? You happy?
I am not happy. I am vampire. I'm only happy when something dies.
He convinces Joey to become a vampire, and although Jennifer initially refuses, she agrees. Hugo stops Eddie from killing them on stage, and the effects here honestly look really fucking good. Joey becomes incredibly disturbed when he sees the other members feeding on a groupie, and goes outside where he is met by Victor. They do the "I told you so" routine, which ends with Joey accidentally cutting Victor's throat in a rage, and he is overcome with bloodlust. On a jet, Joey introduces Jennifer to Eddie, and they agree to become human again. They manipulate Queenie into allowing them into his lair, and he plays them just about the worst riff I've ever heard. Hugo becomes very frightened, and when Queenie grows doubtful of their intentions, Jennifer tries to stake him but misses his heart, allowing Queenie to kill Dan. Eddie confronts Queenie, who presents him with Danielle, who is now a vampire, dominating the charts in Japan with hip-hop. Now that Eddie is distracted, Queenie attempts to murder him, but is staked in the heart by Joey with his own guitar. This has to be one of the sickest vampire kills I've ever seen, and it totally suits the film's tone. Everyone that was turned into a vampire by Queenie has their humanity returned to them, and 6 months later, Jennifer and Joey get stuck at a crossroads after getting a flat tire. The bartender shows up again, offering the couple a ride home using his wings. He tells Joey that they didn't kill the queen vampire at all, and that he is actually from a much older breed, implying that he is actually some kind of demon. He convinces them to start a band again, and the film ends with Jennifer looking excited and Joey looking concerned. At first, I wasn't super sure if I liked this film or not, but over time I think it has really grown on me. One thing that really bothered me on my initial viewing, and still kind of does, is the vampire design. They have the basic stuff down, but the blue plasticky looking contacts really bother me, as I've always preferred a more natural looking red or yellow. The actress who plays Jennifer is still very pretty though, particularly in shots like this. Quite an obvious theme in this film is addiction, with Jennifer being implied to use heroin even before becoming a vampire. Her attitude towards her new addiction, which is later shared by the other band members one by one, is pretty annoying although not unrealistic. She complains that Joey is being a drama queen and that no one likes a judge when he is appalled by her behaviour, a line that he later repeats to Victor once he becomes a vampire. I also really like the casting of this movie, which I think was made pretty obvious during my commentary. See, this is how you do cameos, right? It makes total sense, there aren't too many, and it's fun. The little stop motion animation sequences throughout and funny lines were very endearing to me too. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in my description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Spooky for you. Spooky for you.